podcast made by basketball fans for basketball fans. From the hottest takes, news, analysis, and passion for the sport that we all love, this is the Fast Break Pod with Finn James and Will Tremaine.
Welcome into the Fast Break Podcast, the podcast made by basketball fans.
For basketball fans.
Finn James.
Will Tremaine.
Back again with another episode. Welcome into Season 2, Episode 25. We've got a bit of a jam-packed one on the show today.
Special one, special guest. It's been a while, but we're going to definitely be trying to keep up with having a guest on more regularly, especially heading into the Sals NBL season.
Definitely.
Starting with none other than, who do we have, Finn?
We had Nelson Giants point guard and, well, New Zealand Breakers 4-year development player Alex McNaught. It was an absolute pleasure catching up with him, and we caught up with him a bit earlier this morning, so we'll cut to that now and be back right after that. Welcome back into the Fast Break Podcast with Finn and Will. We've got our next special guest on the line with us. We've got former Breakers development player and Nelson Giants point guard Alex McNaught. Alex, welcome in. How you been doing, my friend?
Very good, thank you, boys. Nice hour of the morning to have a good podcast.
Yeah, nice and early for you. Hopefully we didn't get into any of your sleep time on your day off. Was there ever a doubt that you were going to be returning to Nelson, bro?
Well, I'd say for the last 7 years of re-signing here, I wouldn't say that I had too much doubt. I've had a few seasons where I've thought about different places, but I just don't see myself anywhere other than here. Unless something major happens. So, like, when it comes to where I want to be in terms of the time off that I have between different seasons, it's definitely Nelson.
Is Nelson sort of becoming like a second home to you, would you say?
Yeah, no, Nelson is probably what I would consider home nowadays, just for the fact that it's where I love being the most. Getting out of Auckland traffic, Auckland City in general is a really nice refresher when you get down to Nelson and you start really living a nicer, calmer life, it feels like.
What's the overall vibe like down in Nelson camp for preseason so far, Alex?
Pretty good. I mean, the boys have been going since January, so they've been working pretty hard this time. So, you come in, you got to make sure you're sort of running around at the same level as them, and they've been doing a good job. I'm really enjoying my time with them at the moment. It's cool to meet a lot of the new guys. We've had a little bit of turnover, but we've also had a lot of new guys come in, and they're putting in a lot of work. And I do feel kind of old, which is not saying much, seeing as I'm only 23. But like, it is maybe in years of service compared to years of age.
Nelson's been a club that's turned around some pretty talented youngsters in recent years. Hayden Jones, Lockie Crate, I think, are names that come to mind in particular. Is anyone in the group you've seen this year so far that you think might be at that same level of those two youngsters that got Division 1 contracts this year?
Definitely. I mean, there's a lot of talent from a lot of really young guys. There's also some, 18-year-olds that are just finished up, like James Matthews and Cooper Adams were in the team last couple of years. Like, they've got incredible talent that, I'm hoping that they're going to use the right way. But we've got some seriously young guys in here. I think we've got Zach Rampton, who I think is 15 or maybe 16. He has to be 16 if he's playing, I think. But it's something between those ages. He's huge, really got an idea for the game. Obviously, his dad is a legendary Tall Black and legendary Nelson Giant, but there's things that you can't always pass down through genes, and I think he's got a lot of what it's going to take to be a good basketball player in the future.
Alex, can you just speak to us about what the culture's like in Nelson and the fan base, the community, just how the kind of the city gets behind the Nelson Giants?
Well, that's one thing that I've always enjoyed about Nelson is the fact that it's not the biggest city, but they love their sport. Through all ages, sport is something that they know they're going to have a very good time watching. Whether it's the Mako or whether it's us, we've got the two seasons sort of perfectly lining through where, we'll finish the Giant season and then the Mako will take over. So they're really spoilt for sport here, and they really love it. But you go from a market like in Auckland where it's so polluted with different teams and people supporting different clubs doing different sports. It's a really refreshing feeling to be one of the two teams that they really want to get out and support, if it's not your local Saturday team. So it's really something special that they get up and behind us and the Marco.
How important do you reckon Nelson Giants has been for your development as a basketball player, especially playing under somebody like Mike Fitchett?
Well, I mean, I I don't think I'd be anywhere near where I am now without the Giants taking me under their wing for the first 3 years. Meant my school year when we were in COVID and I took over for Josh Bloxham when he got an injury was the start of that. I mean, I got my first taste and I remember thinking, oh, this would be really fun to do. Like, I'd like to do this. And I got the call down to go down to Nelson. I got accepted when I asked to go down. And that year was a learning year. First year ever seeing an import before. It was all pretty new to me. But without that, I mean, I don't take my first step. But I remember finishing that year and thinking, I'd like to do this for a while. Like, I don't think that this is anything I couldn't do. And I don't think I ever thought about breakers for at least another 5 years where I'm trying to improve. And then, you get thrown into that mix a year later, which is just, it was a dream come true for me and a dream that came far earlier than I expected. So it was thrown in the deep end, but without the Giants, I don't get there at all. So it's a huge part of my development.
You just touched on the 2020 bubble season. Like you said, you came in as an injury replacement for Josh Bloxham with the Nelson Giants. What was that experience like as a whole? I think it was quite unique at the time. I mean, we've never done it since, obviously, with the whole pandemic going on. But what was that experience like coming up to Auckland and playing in a bubble? It's not NBA-esque, but close enough.
It was, it was pretty awesome. I mean, the first professional basketball league or professional league in sport ever, to jump up during that 2020 season in the world. So, like, we had eyes on us everywhere because someone wants, you want to watch basketball somewhere. So, they're watching the New Zealand league from wherever, which is pretty awesome. But, I mean, for me, it was just, I happened to be at school in Auckland at the time and they needed someone that they couldn't fly up from Nelson. So it was a great little moment for me to be able to slip my way in there. But no, I think for me, it was a big part about just understanding what it's like to play at a professional level. Like, these are grown men that have, taken many years of their life to perfecting their craft as much as they can. So that for me was great. I mean, you're playing in Auckland the whole time. I visited Sky City a couple times just to have team meetings with the boys that were staying there, but I got to stay from home. It was a pretty good outcome for me. And I'd say learning from it is definitely, like, if I pinpoint a point where I was like, actually, I want to do basketball for a living, it was definitely that season.
Hey, Alex, if we roll it back all the way to when you were a youngster, can you speak to us about what those first memories were of you picking up a basketball and what really got you into the sport at that young age?
Well, that shouldn't be too difficult because I don't have to roll it back too far in the memories. I actually have memories of these sort of things. I picked up a basketball to play, I guess, for the first time year 6, I think it was. So I was older than, your classic story of, I got given a basketball and a hoop at 2 years old and I was shooting on it ever since. But no, for me, I played every sport under the sun during my primary school, high school, primary, intermediate and high school. I was pretty much playing every sport under the sun. I played netball before basketball, which I don't think has helped my shooting, but it's whatever. But I remember feeling kind of boxed in with netball and thinking, I just want to be able to move with the ball, and basketball was the next best option there. And turns out it was the best option in general. And I had a good old time when I took over at basketball. I remember making the C team, I think it was, and having a great time, enjoying playing a sport. I wasn't meant to be any good at it, which at the time was kind of difficult for me because I liked being good at everything, especially sports related. So it was a refresher to be like, okay, this guy can't even reach the rim from the 3-point line. So, there's some room for improvement there. And I think I took that first step in year 6 and decided, this is actually quite fun. So I kept it as a main sport of mine throughout all the way to the end of high school, obviously.
Yeah, speaking of other sports, if we're not mistaken, you played some high-level water polo through high school, representing New Zealand. When did you decide that basketball was going to be your main focus over water polo? And was that a tough decision?
It was a tough decision, actually. I made that decision in year 13. I was holding off the decision for a very long time. I had many coaches on both sides trying to tell me that I needed to make the decision before then. Whether it was the water polo coaches that were talking about my college aspirations or the basketball coaches that were like, look, there's only one way you're going to continue improving is if you switch to just playing one sport for this final year, take some time out into it. I kind of sod them off the whole time, and I wanted to play both in high school. I didn't I didn't think at the time there was going to be a future in professional basketball or water polo too much, but it was definitely in the back of my mind, and I'd love to play professional basketball. Water polo doesn't have as big a professional scene, but I also would have loved to go to college for water polo. I think I had a better chance to go to college for water polo than I did for basketball. But the decision I remember making was it was just at a water polo training. Thing I was doing a leg workout in the pool, which consisted of me holding up one of the water fountain bottles above my head with a jumper on, and just sort of sat there working out and thinking I really just not enjoying this that much. And you get to a point where if you don't enjoy training, you're just never going to go much further because you lose all that. I love playing the game. Like water polo, I love water polo. I thoroughly enjoy playing, but when it came to training, it just didn't become as much fun. I realized in that moment that it was time to hang them up as such, play out the season, have fun as much as I can, but it was time to focus on basketball.
Speaking of your high school days, obviously a St. Kitts boys college athlete, you won the championship in 2019 with Shalom Broughton at your side. A player many people would remember from that time in high school basketball. What was that experience like for you playing under Aaron Young as well, who's gone on to have a stellar career in coaching too?
Well, I don't think there was a better place I could have gone for basketball. There are championships that were won at different schools and whatnot, but in terms of, for me, development and being a part of something was like, it's really special. I mean, we weren't even in the Prem grade when I got there in year 9. Aaron got signed to come on as the basketball director the same year as I got there, and I didn't make the team in year 9 until someone got injured, and I got to flirt around the team a little bit. But year 10, we went to try and make Prems, and we got in there. We just licked our way across the finish line at the relegation tournament, and that was we thought that was it. We've done awesome. We didn't realize just how much we had. That year we managed to keep ourselves from getting relegated or putting ourselves in that tournament again. So that was the next checkbox done. And then all of a sudden we moved into year 11, and Shalom and Levick had come in, and there was a bit of hope going on. And I mean, I think we'd been to nationals once before. I think we ended up coming dead last, or something close to dead last. So our nationals resume was pretty useless. But we went into that year, and all of a sudden, the work that we'd put in for 2 years before that had started paying off. Our boys were starting to get to year 13. And all of a sudden, we were a team that, you couldn't look past. So we made it to nationals, lost in the semis to Rosmini, which we remembered. We definitely remembered for the next year. But they had one hell of a team with some seriously good players. And, we managed to walk away with a third, which was, the best we'd ever done at nationals. And we were incredibly proud of what we'd done. And it had given us enough hope to be like, what, we know that there is a step further that we can go here. So we go into the last year. Shalom was going into his year 13. a lot of me and my boys from my age group were going into year 12. It was pretty much set up perfectly for us to try and win. And I knew that if there's anyone that wanted it more, it was Aaron. I mean, he'd been along for that ride the same as we had, and the year just sort of went perfectly. Besides us missing Shalom, myself in the Auckland final, we cleaned up pretty well. It was definitely the first time I'd learned what it was like to have to ensure you're always, belting a team to the end. And it was hard to do it as a high schooler. You're up 40 on some teams and your coach is yelling at you for doing something wrong. So I just want to go out and have fun. But, we weren't actually there to do that. We were there to get better and ensure that we were always using our time to get better. And I think that's something that you got to credit to Aaron. Like, it's hard to rail in these high schoolers that just want to go out and have fun in the fourth quarter when you're up 40. But I think those sort of moments there were the reason that we were such a dominant team that year. But yeah, it was an awesome year, and you cap it off with the national championship. It was, I'm still chasing another win. I've been second a few times now, and it is something that you can't really describe as winning at that sort of level.
Was there ever a season in high school that made you realize that you were going to be able to take it to the next level? Obviously, 2020, you were still in high school when you went and played for Nelson, but was there a season before that where you thought, man, I can actually really make this a profession for yourself going forward in the future?
Well, I think for me it would be year 12. Obviously, we won that year, but it was the first year I'd got a call up to a camp for the NZ age group stuff, and every year before that, I'd seen my peers going to the camps, and I was thinking, man, I really kind of wish I was part of that. Then they had the first camp for trials, and they had 64, which cut to 32 or whatever. I can't quite remember what it is. And I didn't make that one either. And, I'm sort of sitting there kind of wishing that was not the case, and trying to figure out how to do it. And Aaron was one of the coaches, and I was like, Aaron, like, what the hell's going on, man? Like, he's like, I have nothing to do with choosing. So I mean, I didn't blame him. I just sort of put my head down and was like, if my chance comes, my chance comes. And all of a sudden, even though they did the first cut, I got added into that second cut group the next time. I don't know if that's nepotism or not, but I'm glad it happened. And then I made it through that next cut group, and then one more cut group, and got my chance to go play at Oceania, which was awesome. I mean, I had a great time there. It was great for my confidence in terms of, going, I could probably do this. I'd like to try and continue doing this, but it was also awesome to realize, there's levels to this. We versed Aussie twice that window and got belt to ass both times. Josh Giddey was just a little bit above us in terms of current skill level. But it was the first time opening my eyes to what that sort of level was. And I was, it was sort of it was good. I started craving getting to that sort of level. I started picking up on things a little more than I did before. So that was definitely where I'd pinpoint my first thought of, there is a future here if I really put my mind to it.
So we fast forward a few years. You'd obviously been playing for the Nelson Giants since 2020. NBL 23 comes around, and the Breakers come after you and recruit you. Can you just speak to us what that was like, and if you ever expected an opportunity like that to come, and just how important that was for your growth as a player?
Well, this is sort of the point where it all really took a quick step. I was working at Briscoe's in Nelson, just trying to make some money in the time that the boys weren't playing. And I mean, I hadn't been paid to play basketball at this point. I was still on an amateur contract, and I was just having a good old time thinking that, this is the Giants. At some point I'll try and get paid for it and have a great time for it and whatnot, keep getting better. And then all of a sudden, I got a call from Mike Fitchett, and he's like, hey, look, like, this agent here is willing to help you out. He's got a deal that you probably don't want to turn down. Here's his number. And I got a call from him, and it was, oh, yeah, hey, mate, really like your game. Managed to get you a Breakers gig. and you're sitting working a 50-hour shift at Briscoe's, and you're like, what? Breakers is a step I wasn't ready for, or sorry, I wasn't mentally ready for, especially to be told. I didn't know that this is what he was going to say, and obviously I instantly said yes, and then I should have asked a few more questions and whatnot. But it was an interesting year, because obviously I didn't know that was going on, and then I get there and I'm on an amateur contract there, which was interesting. I definitely regret not talking about the amateur contract. It made for an interesting year in Auckland in terms of making money, but would I do it again? A million times. First of all, because the year that we had and the people that we had that year was something I'll never forget. It was just an unbelievable run with some seriously unbelievable people. And I wouldn't change that for the world. But what I gained from that year was like the jump that I made as a player in the top 2 inches and like upstairs was just exactly what I needed. As a basketball player, I got better. I mean, you're bound to, in training against these guys and having actual game minutes against this top level teams. That was all great for my basketball improvement as a person, as a player. But in terms of what I learned about the game and how to start reading the game and all the intricacies there, that was definitely the start of it for me. And I'd like to consider myself a pretty smart player, and that was where I got it from. That first year, it hurt. I hated most of it for the fact that I felt really dumb, and Modi was such a genius that I always felt like I was behind. But whilst you're feeling that, you're learning. So it was an awesome year, and I loved every minute of it.
And that following season, you signed a 3-year extension as a development player. Was that different to the amateur contract you were just speaking about in your first year?
So I don't know the full story behind the that contract, and I mean I always consider it as a I'll take a loss sometimes in that sort of area, but it was definitely worth it. So I'll never complain that much about it. I complained about it at the time because I wanted to buy food and pay rent and whatnot, but but it was definitely worth it in every scheme of it. But when I think supposedly when Modi found out that I wasn't getting paid, he instantly was like, all right, we're going to change your contract. I think the point was that we'd already discussed, I was on a 3-year to start with, and then the second year was going to be not amateur, just normal, like every other DP in the league. So I think that it wasn't going to be much of a change, but Modi and I had planned for his last contracted year to be my last contracted year as a DP, so that we'd go through the whole 4 years together. It was sort of what we'd planned at the end of that first season. And I mean, when your coach is, signing on for the years that he's there, it's a really awesome compliment. I was full of energy about that idea, and I instantly was like, yep, I'm happy to do that. I think this would be great. I can't wait to see where we go with this. I really enjoyed the idea of that. And I focus on the idea of that because that obviously didn't plan out the same way.
You brought up Modi a couple times there. What was it like when he departed the club early? How did that make you feel?
Well, look, I understand. I'm the most realist person you'll see when it comes to this role. I understand the way that these things go, and I had zero qualms with him leaving. He takes on an incredible job and at a new team in Japan's first division, which is just it's the dream, really. I mean, you're living in Japan, getting paid far more than what you were, and you've got full rights to a team that's brand new, and like it's a coach's dream. It's a blank sheet that you get to do everything for. So for me, him leaving wasn't a problem. I mean, obviously for me, I wanted him to stay. I thought I had a plan with him, and I wanted it to happen. But in terms of what's best for him, I was perfectly fine with him leaving. It's the way basketball goes. Players come and go, coaches do the same. So that was a bit of a shame, but I'm super happy for him, and I mean he's turned his team into the best team in the B1 league this year. So when it comes to what he can do, he proved that it was the right move for him. So I definitely give him credit for that.
What's your relationship with like Modi now? Do you still talk to him time to time and catch up?
Yeah, so I still message him every now and then, and we had an interesting relationship. I don't know if he thought of me as like as his baby son, or it just like he had sons and then there was me, but like it was we had a good relationship. I mean, he put a lot of time and effort into me as a basketball player, but also me as a person. He could be a dick sometimes, but that's just the way it is. But he was also someone that I would always trust to be in my corner no matter what. So it was a relationship that I learnt through battle of fire that he was going to be there for, and because of that, I have a lot of respect for him, which is all I care about. So that was for me what created this relationship and why I'm still messaging him to this day.
What was this season just gone like for you? Obviously, the change in ownership, missing out on the playoffs, but you win the Ignite Cup. So a bit of a bittersweet season. Obviously, Coach Kopp as well. Can you just talk to us about this past season?
Yeah. In terms of what a team can do within a manager takeover time, a management takeover time, I think it went, besides obviously making playoffs and winning the whole thing, it went incredibly successfully. Like, I don't know if there's many teams that were able to turn their whole management team over, change players, change coaching staff. Like, there was so much going on behind the scenes that the fact that we managed to put out a season at all was incredible. And that goes credit to all the managing team, the owners, the players, the coaches. Like, it was a year that, you sort of go into thinking this would be kind of difficult to pull together, but we did an excellent job of it, and winning the Ignite Cup and winning the Blitz, 2-time champs in 1 year. It was a cool season for that, but obviously everyone wants to win and it hurts when you lose. But what we did with what we were given, I think was an excellent year, and I think there's great things to come for the Breakers, because now you've got a year under your footing. It's going to be it's only up from there, really. You don't have to worry about any of the first year problems anymore, and you can have a bit more time to settle into a proper gig. And I think they're going to have a really good run at it. I'm sure the Breakers are going to be very good for the next few years.
Yeah, just leading on from that, how confident are you that the Breakers are going to be this competitive basketball franchise that they once were? I guess when you were a younger guy growing up as well with that dynasty, how confident are you, seeing that you've actually been there with this new ownership the season just gone, that they'll be back at that level in hopefully a few years?
Oh, I mean, in terms of what you want to be doing to create a professional environment to give everyone the best chance at becoming this good team, that becoming this dynasty, and getting the fans on board the same way as that we used to, I think they're doing everything right. So when it comes to the setup for what we need, like as players, as coaches, everything is there for us now. So it just comes down to whether or not we perform. And when it comes to what an organization can do for you, if you're in that position, there's not a whole lot of reasons from now on that you can't win. So I've got a lot of faith in the Breakers, and I think there's going to be some good years to come.
And just lastly, mate, of course, thank you so much for your time. You've been very generous with it this morning. We do appreciate it so much. Just, I guess, to wrap, how have the last 4 years been for you under the Breakers? And is there anyone you want to thank that behind the scenes not many people know about that have really assisted your journey in the last 4 years in professional basketball?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people, and I'd hate the idea of missing someone out. And I mean, my first years had different people that were involved that I would want to thank for that first couple of years. There's more people involved this year. There was a whole lot of movement, but for me, being a part of the Breakers was a dream come true, as I said earlier, and it happened far earlier than I thought, and I couldn't have been more grateful for it happening that early. It gave me many opportunities. My first year of playing a lot and making it all the way to Game 5 of the finals and being a part of one of the greatest series I've ever seen. Yeah, I mean, being a breaker was my number one goal as a basketball player. So ticking that off so early, I don't want to. It was lovely to have the taste, but now I've been able to move my goals a little bit and push to go greater. And I mean, for me, I'd love to be back. Like as a breaker, that's the goal. Just I want to come back as a player that can impact winning, not just off the court. And I want to come back as a player that can help them win on the court. So for me, my new goal is to get to a point where I believe that I can impact both on and off the court and try and get re-signed at the Breakers at some point down the line. But till that point, I'm going to be a big Breakers fan, as I've always been.
Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast this morning, Alex. We very much appreciate it. And all the best this upcoming Sals NBL season with the Nelson Giants.
Thank you very much, mate.
Thank you very much, boys. I appreciate it.
It was great catching up with Alex, not only talking to him about this upcoming Nelson Giants season for him in the Sals NBL, but also his time at St. Kitts, water polo even, and even leading into the last Breakers season. I mean, like he said, he lived out his childhood dream playing for the Breakers, which I thought was really cool.
Absolute pleasure having him on. Thanks again, Alex. So yeah, a bit of a shorter episode today, which works well. There's not been much happening in the basketball world. NBL Finals Game 1 has taken place between Sydney and Adelaide. So we're going to do a quick breakdown of that. So yeah, let's get right into it. Sydney, Finn. 108 to... No, sorry, that's the wrong game. 112 to 68 win over the Adelaide 36ers. Absolute whitewash.
Yeah.
We were not expecting this. We obviously were watching the game together. We thought Bryce would be able to keep this one close, but Sydney just came out with the perfect game plan to contain Bryce Cotton, doubling him most of the game, and holding him to 10 points and 4 for 12 shooting. So a poor performance from Bryce, a rare poor performance, and they're going to have some figuring out to do if they want to get a game in this series, I think, Finn.
Sydney and Brian Gorgian, the most perfect game plan they could have written up to guard Bryce Cotton. Couldn't have done it better.
Yeah.
They doubled him on every screen. They limited into outside shots. They forced him inside when they couldn't double him. And they basically forced every other player on Adelaide to make a play. And well, didn't. Bryce Cotton is renowned to be the go-to guy. And I thought maybe DJ Vasiljevic, after coming off of his really solid Game 3 performance against the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, might be in for another big game. Didn't happen.
Yeah, he was inserted into that Adelaide starting lineup for Game 3 against Southeast Melbourne. And he really proved himself in that game. I think he finished with 27 points, 6 threes as well. So really proved why he should be starting in this league. I personally thought he should never have lost his starting position on Adelaide. And I thought perfect decision. Obviously, Mike Wells stayed with the same approach heading into Game 1, starting with DJ. But yeah, you're going to need him to step up more, especially in games like this where Bryce Cotton's struggling, they're limiting his shots. You have to have another guy step up, and I think that's got to be DJ.
It was a great game from him, to be fair. But the rest of the team just wasn't there to play. I mean, Zylan Cheatham has kind of been this, a role player this year, rather than a guy that's going to go get you 20 points, 25 points a game. So you can't rely on your other import. And then, well, the John Jenkins experiment has essentially just failed, unfortunately. I mean, I thought when Mike Wells first picked up John Jenkins, this was going to be a perfect pickup. They needed a lights-out three-point shooter to replace Troy Brown Jr., who was there to shoot threes and play defense from the start. But then they got one of the pieces of the puzzle fixed with the three-point shooting, but has unfortunately not got the other piece, which is defensive. Defensive liability, John Jenkins is at the end of the day, and you don't like to see it. You want to see a really competitive series, and for Game 1, I thought Sydney would win this anyway because, well, it was in Sydney. Kudos Bank Arena. Kendrick Davis has so much riding on this series for him. He has a lot to prove. And it wasn't only him, it was just a few other players that really stepped up defensively and offensively. Obviously, Kendrick did lead the way in the end, but so many other players just stepped up in this game, just from all corners of the field.
Yeah, speaking of Kendrick, 25 points, 7 assists, 8 for 16 shooting. So phenomenal game from him. Really, kind of you could say making a case that he should have been the MVP, especially when Bryce Cotton's struggling on the opposite end of the court. Tim Suarez as well. He stepped up big in this game. 22 points, 8 rebounds, 8 for 10, Finn. So Mr. Efficient. But it seemed like nobody could really do any wrong for Sydney. Torrey Craig had a little stretch there as well, where he had like 3 buckets in a row, looked unguardable, which is rare for Torrey Craig. We know what he can bring on defense, but he hasn't really shown that he can be a consistent offensive threat. So when he's got it going, then that's really a worry signs for Adelaide. But yeah, Adelaide, just no one could really find it going at all. Isaac Humphries had 10 points, 5 for 5. He was probably the only guy that was in above 50% from the field. And then Rakocevic doing his usual things on the bench, 10 points, but just causing more mayhem, you could say.
When is he not? Did you see post-game Andrew Bogut and Rakocevic getting into it?
Yeah.
It's game one.
It's got to be someone with Rakocevic.
I love the niggle, though. This is what finals basketball is all about, right? You got a bit of hatred in the teams.
Yeah.
That's what you love to see. And just on, actually, Rakocevic, seems like he's signing a 1-year extension with the Adelaide 36ers to return next season.
Yeah, I like it. He's been good this season off the bench, for sure. But yeah, we also, speaking about DJ as well, 5 points, 2 for 10 shooting. So we were just talking about how he needs to step up. Really poor showing from him. And Flynn Cameron as well, who hasn't really been able to find his shot all postseason. He shot 1 for 8 overall, 0 for 5 from 3. So you need someone like him stepping up. We've seen what he can do. One of the most improved players this season across the whole league. He's got to find a 3-point shot, I think, for Adelaide to have a chance in this playoff series. And I thought this was, going into the series, I thought this was going to be a 5-game series for sure. If Adelaide can't figure this out, we're looking at a 3-0 Sydney sweep.
Someone needs to step up for Adelaide. It can't be Bryce. I mean, Sydney had so much time off between their play-in tournament games. They won back-to-back against Perth. Yep. They had like a week and a half off, maybe even, might be a bit less, but around that, I'd say, to prepare for this game against Adelaide. At home, Brian Gorgian, Coach of the Year. You have the runner-up in Kendrick Davis. You have a former MVP in Xavier Cooks. You have all these great players. Torrey Craig, arguably one of the best mid-season import signings of all time, other than obviously Bryce Cotton at Perth Wildcats, but he's been a perfect fit for the Sydney Kings this year. They knew what they were going to do going into this game. They were going to limit Bryce Cotton. They were going to double him. They were going to force him into bad shots. They were going to apply pressure. It's exactly what they did, and nobody on Adelaide stepped up. 68 points in a basketball game.
Yeah,
we can score more points than that in 7-minute quarters in the
we put up 100. We put up 100 points last week
in a very sloppy game. However, someone on Adelaide needs to step up. We've seen it from Flynn Cameron before. He's had some really good games this season, averaging like 12 points, shot 41% from 3 this year, but like you said, has really struggled in the postseason to find his touch.
Yeah,
really struggled.
Him and DJ, I think those are the two guys that really need to step up. Zylan, in terms of scoring, like you were saying, he's not really a scoring threat on this team, so I don't think there's as much on him. He's still doing the other small things that Adelaide need him to do. But yeah, in terms of pure scoring, they need DJ and Flynn. Those two guys who are 3-point snipers, they need to start finding their shot, because 3 balls and missed 3 balls in this case is what's losing them these games. They need to be hitting those. There's no excuses.
100%. Like, yeah, cool. DJ had that massive game against Southeast Melbourne Phoenix in Game 3. And if I'm Mike Wells, I'm 100% doing what he did and inserting him into the starting lineup for Game 1.
Yeah.
But he was really bad. Like, there's no other way of putting it. He didn't play well.
Yeah.
Bryce didn't play well. No one really played well. If I'm an Adelaide fan, I'm really pissed off. And obviously, we're going to go back to Adelaide for Game 2. Because you go 1-1, 1-1, whatever it is, which I don't know how I feel about that. But
a bit weird. Should go 2-2-1.
Well, that would be a definite home court advantage.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Well, they'd still be playing at least one game in the worst team's arena.
Yeah.
So that's just the same in my opinion.
But like I said, we've seen it. Bryce in Adelaide is unstoppable. We saw it in the semi-final matchup against Southeast Melbourne. 44 points in Game 1 was excellent in Game 3 as well
38
to close out the series. And I don't know, he struggled in John Cain Arena when they played in Game 2, and Nathan Sobey went absolutely crazy. But Bryce isn't going to go to sleep happy after this one. He's going to be really pissed off. He's going to be fired up.
Yeah.
And I think I'd be surprised if they don't come back and win game 2.
You'd think that Bryce Collins alone himself got one game in him in this series. So I'd imagine, you'd expect it to be this game 2 coming up to keep the series going, but I could still see a world where Sydney just sweep this. If Mike Wells doesn't come in with the game plan that they need, it's going to be interesting how it all plays out. But yeah, speaking of game 2, that's this Friday in Adelaide, 9:30 NZ time again for us. It's another late one, but it'll be interesting to see what game plan Mike Wells comes up with. If Bryce can get his shot going, and if it's not Bryce, who's going to step up in his spot and hopefully prolong the series? Because I want to see 5 games of Kendrick versus Bryce. I think every basketball fan does, unless you're a fan of one of the two teams. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, every neutral NBL fan, basketball fan on the side of the world wants to see a 5-game series. But,
for sure.
I mean, a lot of the NBL analysts and experts that, work for the NBL, I think Pete Hooley even suggested a sweep from Sydney. Most teams are saying Sydney in 4, Sydney in 5. But I saw Pete Hooley wants a sweep from Sydney. And look, once you lose 112-68 in game 1, you almost lose by 60 points.
Yeah.
What was that, 50, 54?
Yeah.
Like 54 points is a lot of points, especially in a finals team. No, I can't do my math. It's not the first time. You know what? If you're an Adelaide fan, you're scratching your head. What can you do? And that's just not a competitive game. And when you put on a statement and a performance like that, Sydney's just proven a lot already in one game. That there is a mountain that Adelaide need to climb if they even want to sniff a title this postseason.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be entertaining to see how this all plays out in game 2. But yeah, it's definitely going to be an exciting one. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in, though. Obviously, this has felt like a bit of a shorter episode for us, but we did have a nice long interview with Alex McNaught, as mentioned before. So thanks again for coming on to Alex. And let us know down below in the comments if there's any players from the Sals NBL that you guys want to see us interview, because we're going to be making a conscious effort to try and get someone on every week as soon as the Sals NBL is underway. And that's only a few weeks away now, because we got this week, next week of
I think the
NBL action.
7th of April is the first game of the NBL season.
Yeah, so not long to wait now. And we can't wait. But thanks again, guys, for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week.